Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Hey everyone, great to be here.
Yeah, we are so excited to get into this today. But right up top, please hit that subscribe button to Rugby Obsession so you never miss one of our deep dives. It really helps the show.
Definitely. Go hit subscribe.
So imagine stepping out onto a freezing, mud-soaked pitch. You are bracing yourself for, one of the most visceral, physically punishing experiences in the sporting world.
Yeah, just absolute chaos out there.
Exactly. The air is thick, the whistle blows, and massive collisions are just happening all around you. When you think about elite international rugby, that is the environment that immediately springs to mind, right?
Oh, 100%. You picture brute force and endless physical endurance.
Right. And a preparation landscape that is just as brutal as the game itself.
Hmm.
But if you look behind the curtain of the most successful rugby program on the planet right now, that traditional image gets completely turned upside down.
It really does. It's wild.
Today, our mission is to explore the hidden mechanics of sustaining a championship culture. We are using a fascinating recent article from the South African Dora Maria as our map to uncover the latest strategic moves by the Springboks ahead of their international season.
Mm-hmm.
And what we are looking at today is a preparation landscape that is, entirely digital.
Which is such a massive contrast between the public perception of the sport and the private reality of its preparation.
Seriously.
We are looking at an absolute masterclass in elite strategic management. The Springboks management team isn't currently running grueling physical drills on a field. They are running highly sophisticated virtual alignment camps.
Right, which sounds crazy for a physical sport.
It does. Specifically, we are examining how head coach Rassie Erasmus is integrating brand new, unproven talent with seasoned, globally recognized veterans through virtual platforms, and this is happening months before anyone ever puts on their boots.
Wow.
It's a profound look into how elite physical performance is actually engineered through cognitive alignment first.
That concept completely flips the script on how we assume sports preparation works.
Yeah.
You have these massive, highly trained professional athletes logging into digital strategy meetings like, regional directors at a multinational corporation.
Yeah, exactly like that.
So set the stage for us regarding the immediate news. Rassie Erasmus has just called up 2 totally uncapped players.
Right.
They haven't played a single official test match for the senior national team, and they're being dropped into this high-level virtual strategy session.
Yeah.
So who are these new guys stepping into this digital arena?
So the 2 new additions to the virtual roster are Carlü Sadie and JJ Mescht.
Okay.
And both of these athletes are currently operating outside of South Africa, just grinding away in the highly competitive European club scene.
Gotcha.
Sadie is a prop, currently playing for Bordeaux Bègles over in France, while Mescht is a lock playing for the Northampton Saints in England.
Okay, so they're in the thick of it over in Europe.
Exactly. Crucially, though, both of these players are former junior Springboks.
Oh, so they aren't complete strangers to the system.
Right. They advanced through the SA Rugby junior structures earlier in their careers. This means the organization already has a foundational understanding of their profiles.
Makes sense.
But they are currently catching the selectors' eyes by excelling for their overseas clubs. For this specific virtual alignment camp, they are joining a much larger group of 21 globally based players.
The logistics of that alone are staggering to me. You're managing 21 professional athletes who are scattered across Europe and South Africa.
Yeah.
They're operating under different club schedules, different coaching philosophies, and different recovery timelines. The source notes that this virtual camp is hosted on a Tuesday, and the management actually has to split the camp into 2 entirely separate sessions throughout the day.
Just to accommodate the varying international time zones, yeah.
Right. The sheer administrative effort required to get all these guys on a screen at the same time shows an incredible level of organizational commitment.
It really does.
But this is where I find myself wrestling with the core concept. Rugby is arguably the most physically demanding, aggressive sport on earth.
Without a doubt.
So how do you practice a scrum or coordinate a line-out lift or perfect your defensive line speed through a computer screen? It feels totally detached from the physical reality of what these guys have to execute on the grass.
Well, what's fascinating here is that you don't practice the physical movement over a video call.
Okay.
You build the mental architecture required to execute the physical movement later. Erasmus made it explicitly clear that Sadie and Mescht have performed exceptionally well physically for their clubs.
Right, so the talent is clearly there.
Exactly. The coaching staff already knows they can tackle, they know they can ruck, they know they have the raw physical attributes. The priority of this virtual camp is getting them completely up to date with how the Springbok's internal systems have changed and solidifying their understanding of the team's key tactical pillars. Elite physical dominance on the pitch actually starts with absolute cognitive alignment off the pitch.
So the goal is essentially to remove any cognitive delay before they ever share a physical space.
That's it.
Because if we think about the speed of an international test match, the margins for error are microscopic.
Oh, absolutely.
If a player is standing in a defensive line and they have to actively think about where they're supposed to be standing in a new structure, I mean, they're already a fraction of a second too late.
And you can't afford that.
No. And at the elite level, that fraction of a second of hesitation is the difference between making a dominant tackle behind the gain line or conceding a try. You are updating the software well before you ever test the hardware.
That is the perfect way to frame it. Think about the specific positions these two new players occupy.
Right.
Sadie is a prop and Mescht is a lock. These are positions in the tight five of the forwards. Their roles are incredibly system-dependent.
Yeah, very technical.
Very. A winger might occasionally be able to rely on raw instinct and open space, but props and locks operate in the highly structured, meticulously coordinated environments of the scrum, the line-out, and those heavy defensive collisions.
Right, there's no faking it in the tight five.
Exactly. They have to memorize complex movement variations, binding angles, and lifting triggers. If a lock is a fraction of a second behind on the cognitive processing of a line-out call, the entire set piece collapses.
Wow.
So by bringing these informed club players up to speed mentally over a screen, the coaching staff is ensuring that when they finally hit the training pitch in June, the cognitive load is already handled.
That's brilliant.
The brain isn't split between learning a system and executing a physical task. They can just play fast.
That is so cool. And before we get into the crazy roster dynamics of this specific call, I just want to jump in with a quick reminder. If you're enjoying this breakdown, please subscribe to Rugby Obsession. It is the best way to support what we do.
Yes, definitely subscribe.
Okay, let's unpack this dynamic because the sheer scale of the roster on this specific call makes that cognitive integration process even more intense. When we look at the makeup of this virtual room, Sadie and Mescht are the absolute outliers.
Oh, completely.
They are the only uncapped players in this specific group of 21. Everyone else on the screen has been to the mountaintop.
Literally.
They are logging in alongside 16 Rugby World Cup winners. We are talking about the absolute titans of the modern game. Pieter-Steph du Toit, Faf de Klerk, Cheslin Colby,
It's a heavy room.
dropping two uncapped guys into a tactical discussion with players of that caliber. It's just a fascinating dynamic.
Those veterans are the undisputed pillars of the Springbok legacy right now. And to give you, the listener, the full operational context here, this virtual session did not happen in a vacuum.
Right.
It follows a massive 49-player in-person alignment camp that the team held earlier in the month down in Cape Town. The Springboks are running multiple tiers of alignment simultaneously.
Which brings up a glaring question regarding resource allocation and timing. The Springboks already have dozens of players who attended that massive Cape Town camp.
Yeah, they do.
They have 16 World Cup winners on this virtual call alone. They have an absolute abundance of proven championship-level talent at their disposal. So why go through the highly specific logistical effort of virtually integrating just two uncapped players right now in March?
It's a fair question.
Why not just wait until the official physical training camps open in June, hand them a ball, put them on the field, and see how they physically blend with the veterans?
Well, waiting until June is a reactive strategy, and Erasmus operates on a deeply proactive philosophy.
Okay.
If you wait until the physical camp to introduce new talent to the environment, you are asking those players to absorb an impossible amount of information all at once.
Right, that makes a lot of sense.
If a new player arrives in June, they'd have to learn the tactical playbook, understand the unspoken cultural expectations of the environment, build relationships with the veterans, and execute at an elite physical standard, literally all simultaneously.
That is a recipe for complete system failure. I mean, the player becomes so overwhelmed by trying to remember the tactical calls and desperately trying to fit in with the established culture that their physical performance inevitably drops.
Exactly. And when their physical performance drops, the coaches get an inaccurate, compromised read on their actual ability. You are setting them up to fail by overloading their bandwidth.
Wow.
By integrating Sadie and Mescht with the old guard early in the year, Erasmus forces a very specific psychological dynamic that prevents that overwhelm.
How so?
Those 16 World Cup veterans anchor the culture of that virtual room. Their mere presence on the call sets an immediate, uncompromising standard.
Oh, I see.
Think about the psychology of a veteran like Faf de Klerk or Peter Steph Butoy logging onto a Zoom call in March to discuss tactics. It demonstrates a culture of absolute humility and continuous learning.
Right, like if the world champions are studying, I need to be studying.
Precisely. The two new players get to absorb the expectations of international rugby simply by observing and interacting with the best in the business, months before the pressure of physical selection kicks in. It is passive osmosis of elite standards.
It is the exact equivalent of a high-stakes corporate onboarding process.
Yes.
You would never hand a brand new executive the keys to a critical multi-million-dollar project on day one and just say, figure it out on the fly.
Never.
You would put them in a room with the founders and the most successful regional directors for a month beforehand. You let them absorb the language, the cadence, the operational rhythm, and the decision-making framework of the people who actually built the company.
That's a great analogy.
By the time that executive finally sits down at their desk to do the actual work, they already speak the native language of the organization fluently. They aren't an outsider trying to translate the culture. They are already a part of it.
And that native language is exactly what is being taught during these sessions. The source material from the South African uses a very specific structural term to describe what the coaching staff is actually presenting during these long virtual meetings.
Okay, what is it?
They are laying out the Springboks MACROPLAN for the upcoming year.
The MACROPLAN. I love that word. I find that terminology endlessly fascinating.
That's good, right?
It sounds like a classified document you would find in a locked briefcase at the Pentagon. It implies a level of overarching design that goes way beyond standard sports strategy.
Right.
It isn't just about how they're going to tackle this weekend. It speaks to a comprehensive, year-long trajectory. So what does an international sports team's macro plan actually look like when it is being presented over a video call to a distributed workforce?
It is a highly granular department-by-department breakdown of the entire season ahead. The article notes that Erasmus and his coaching team use this time to share detailed visions in their respective areas of expertise.
Like breaking down the playbook piece by piece.
Exactly. A macro plan means the defense coach is outlining the evolution of the defensive shape for the next 12 months. The forwards coach is detailing the shifting expectations for the set piece and how they plan to counter specific global trends in the scrum.
And I imagine the attack coach is doing the same.
Yeah, breaking down the new phase play triggers. The ultimate goal, according to the team's management, is absolute uniformity.
Wow.
They are ensuring that by the time that first official training camp begins in June, every single player, regardless of what club system they have been playing in overseas, is on the exact same page regarding values, systems, and structures.
That level of intense front-loaded communication fundamentally changes the nature of the June training camp.
It really does.
Because the physical camp is no longer a classroom where coaches have to stand at a whiteboard and explain basic concepts while the players get cold on the field. The camp becomes a pure execution phase.
Right, no time wasted.
It makes me think of a massive civil engineering project. You spend years drafting the architectural blueprints, running computer simulations to stress test the materials, aligning the various contractors, and, securing the supply chains long before a single shovel ever hits the dirt.
Exactly.
If you wait until you are standing in an empty dirt lot with a massive pile of steel and concrete to figure out how the building should look, the entire project will collapse under its own weight. The macro plan is the architectural blueprint. You cannot build a house without it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, implementing that blueprint early is the ultimate defense against championship fatigue.
Oh, that's interesting.
When an organization achieves the pinnacle of success in their field, like winning back-to-back World Cups, the most dangerous internal threat is the assumption that the existing knowledge is sufficient.
Yeah, complacency
The natural human tendency is to relax, to rely on muscle memory, and to assume you already know how to win. But the global game constantly evolves.
Right, everyone else is trying to catch up to you.
Exactly. Opponents analyze your systems, they dissect your past performances, and they find vulnerabilities. By actively managing this distributed workforce players in France, in England, in South Africa, Erasmus is constantly upgrading the collective intelligence of the group. He is forcing them to engage with the evolution of the macro plan.
He is actively fighting the decay of success. By pulling these players out of their daily, localized club environments and forcing them to engage with the overarching Springbok macro plan, he is resetting their baseline back to the elite international standard.
Yes.
He isn't letting them get comfortable. And for the two uncapped players, Sadie and Mescht, this meticulous planning acts as a bridge. It allows the coaches to seamlessly transition them from the junior structures right onto the international stage.
It makes the jump so much easier.
Right. They don't have to guess what the gap between European club rugby and test match rugby looks like. The coaches are showing them the exact dimensions of that gap on a screen in March, giving them the tools to cross it mentally so they can cross it physically in June.
It completely removes all excuses from the environment. When June finally arrives, Sadie and Mescht will not be raw recruits trying to decipher how the Springbok environment operates.
Really, buddy?
Mentally, tactically, and culturally, they will already be fully integrated Springboks. The physical execution on the grass is simply the final visible step of a rigorous process that began months earlier across multiple time zones in a digital space.
Which brings us to the core takeaway for you listening to this deep dive right now. The mechanics of elite success are rarely as visible or as glamorous as the final result we see on television.
That's so true.
Winning at the absolute highest level doesn't just happen out there on the field when the whistle blows. The victory doesn't start with a physical collision. It is engineered months in advance in virtual alignment camps, meticulously bridging time zones and continents. It happens when you take raw, untested talent and mentally integrate them into your macro plan alongside proven veterans. You build the shared values, the cultural expectations, and the structural knowledge long before the physical work ever begins. You update the software before you test the hardware.
Which leaves us with a compelling question to consider as we wrap up our analysis.
Yeah, hear it.
If one of the most physically punishing, chaotic, and aggressive sports in the world relies this heavily on early virtual alignment and shared mental architecture, how much more could you benefit from hosting a personal alignment camp before launching into your next major endeavor?
Oh, wow.
Before you start exerting the effort, before you start sweating the details, and before the pressure is on, do you have your macro plan in place?
That is the perfect question to leave hanging in the air today. Do you have your macro plan? We really want to know what you think about this. Let us know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below.
Yeah, please drop a comment. We'd love to read them.
Take these blueprints, apply them to your own field, and keep pushing the boundaries of your own preparation. And if you found this valuable, please take a second to subscribe to Rugby Obsession. It means the world to us.
Thanks for hanging out with us today, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.